Okay, let's get this Monday webinar started. We have some good setups to talk about. For anybody that might be here the first time, I always see at least several names that I absolutely do not recognize, and I just want to say to you, welcome, and we're super happy to have you. Always glad to have new people with us and to just meet some new traders. We're a pretty international group. Even though the group's not huge, it is very diverse. So we have people from just about every continent and several different countries and time zones and so on. So it's always good to be with you guys, and I'm happy that you've chosen to spend a couple of minutes of your time to join us and hopefully learn a little bit about my trading style and some of the things I'm looking at as far as this market goes. And just for those that are on for the first time or so, what I will do is kind of give a little bit of a overall outlook of what I think is happening or what I think will happen this coming week and get us some nice trading opportunities out of that. And then remember that I do these webinars actually twice a day for my trading group. I just do a free one for everyone on Monday and just give you guys as much information as I can give you. And then the rest of the week, market conditions change a little bit, things get a little more specific, and so I continue to update my trading group through live sessions and video twice a day all week long. So we have plenty of live trading sessions, and we kind of get more specific. Things will change and certain setups might get altered a little bit as the week progresses on. So if you'd like to learn a little bit about how we do everything, you can just go right to Day Traders FX, click on Start Now, and get a 5-day free trial to the group. And we'd love to have you, so it would be a good time there. So have a look at that. Any questions, comments about that, let me know. And Alberto, Dominican Republic. Excellent. Okay, so the one thing that I love to look at the start of the week is just any major news announcements to kind of get an idea of what kind of week we might have ahead of us. If it's going to be a little bit slow or if we have a lot of news. And as you can see, we have a crazy amount of news this whole entire week. Now, one interesting thing is typically when we don't have any major U.S. announcements until like midweek, some of the dollar pairs can just be kind of slow and steady, and they can be subject to news and economic situations of the other pairs, and we definitely see that happening this week. Today, we've already seen a little bit of German news. We did have a Canadian bank holiday today, so to all the Canadians in here, which I know we have at least a few, happy what? Happy observance of Victoria Day. All right. So Victoria Day, happy Victoria Day to all the Canadians here. Yeah, absolutely. I'm by the way, I'm always in favor of a bank holiday. That's just good stuff. That just means a day off, and just overall goodness. So we're happy about that. But as far as news goes today, so remember it is Monday, May 19th here, and it's about 4 p.m., just a little after 4 p.m. In about 2.5 hours, we have monetary policy meeting minutes for Australia. That could be semi-significant, so we're going to keep an eye on that. We're definitely looking at some Aussie pairs. We're looking at Euro Aussie, Pound Aussie, a little bit Aussie dollar, and we're definitely looking at the Aussie New Zealand. So Aussie news is definitely important to us. It's definitely a big deal. Going into Monday night, Tuesday morning, we have some CPI news out of the UK, so that's pretty important. That's a pretty decent mover. And then nothing major for the US session Tuesday morning. So it could be kind of a slow US session Tuesday morning, but Tuesday afternoon should get pretty interesting with some more Bank of Japan stuff and all of that. So that's going to be definitely worth watching. And absolutely Tuesday night / early Wednesday morning, we have a lot of central bank stuff out of the UK, including retail sales, which is always a good mover. And then we follow that up with FOMC meeting minutes in the US, which is also huge and important. So So we have a lot of really important stuff coming out on Tuesday and Wednesday. So that should be a big day. And then Thursday's definitely got quite a bit. You can see quite a bit of news here. Lots of U.S. news, some Canadian, some U.K., some Europe news, some pretty good stuff there. So that'll be worth keeping an eye on. And then we have the German IFO and a little core CPI for Canada and home sales for the U.S. coming on Friday. So there's going to be some good amounts of news this week. Remember, if we have a ton of news like we do every day, sometimes it almost overwhelms the market and we have to kind of just go from announcement to announcement. So there's going to be a lot of stuff, but I think they're going to get our positions really lined up and should be pretty interesting. Probably the Wednesday news, Steve. By the way, good question. Bigger news for the pound is probably going to be the Wednesday activity. So that's always pretty important. GDP is a big deal, but Wednesday is going to be heavy news. Okay, so that's a little bit of what we're looking for as far as news goes. Let's have a look at the euro dollar. We currently have a euro dollar position that's kind of been bouncing around between 100 and 140 or 50 pips in profit, and it's just been looking super great. And it's back down to a little under 100 pips in profit. And the euro dollar is just kind of sitting here. Now, one thing that you're going to see, kind of a theme of everything I'm looking at this week, is 1 hour charts are slightly overextended on a ton of pairs, number one. Number two, we have excellent overlapping Fibonacci levels on several pairs as well. And by overlapping, I mean pretty important Fibonacci levels like 50% Fib levels and so on, overlapping key indicators like moving averages and weekly pivot points, as well as support and resistance levels. So that's going to be pretty important. Euro dollar is a great example of just hit that 200 moving average and bounced off of it nicely. We haven't touched the 200 moving average in a good long time, so there's a pretty good gap between the two of those there, about 165 or so bars. But remember, the euro dollar still has some pretty big candles that are telling us that something else might be in the works here. So we saw this nice little run up, nice double top, huge sell off, big failure right there. The weekly chart also looks very similar here. So this weekly chart on euro dollar, nice double top, huge price rejection, huge reversal candle. And we saw last week there was a little bit of almost a hammer. It was almost a hammer, but that's a lot of body. It's about half body, half wick. So little bounce off that. I don't think that's going to be able to reverse things too much, but hopefully it does give us a little bit of a push higher, because what I would love to see happen on the euro dollar, I'm absolutely looking for this euro dollar to make it down into the very low 130s. I think we've got a super excellent chance of running down into 131, 13200, right around there. And some of the news is really going to help that. FOMC meeting minutes are going to really potentially could very much push the euro dollar, as well as coming ECB meetings for the euro as well. So I think a lot of these things are going to really kind of have a bearish outlook and push on the euro. So we're going to keep an eye on that. What we have here as far as a 4 hour chart goes is nothing too terribly crazy here, but what I do like is if we look at this euro dollar and you can see we've got a couple of missed pivots here and so on. And one thing that I had in my notes is I wanted to get long between about 138. I can't even remember now. I'm going to have to go back and look at these notes here. But I wanted to get long, short again between 138.15 and 138.40, and I think that's pretty decent still. But now I'm even more at about 138.00 to 138.30 is where I would like to start getting short more euro dollar. We've had a nice little move and a nice little run here from the high on down to the low there, and you can see that it's just bouncing around that 23% fib. And what happens is when this bounces around that 23% fib and then crosses it, we have a super excellent chance of this reaching the 38% fib, which also happens to be a missed daily pivot and 200 moving average and so on, and that's about 137.80. And so this is looking like a nice little move here. Like we'll probably see a pretty good little break above about 137.30, and we'll probably see this thing get pretty nicely up into 138. 13800 and even a little bit above 13800 into that potential into that missed weekly pivot at about 138.30. So I'll be looking for opportunities to get short between 13800 and 138.30. And yeah, Patrick, that is a short term, looking like a nice little short term inverted head and shoulders pattern, which could give us that nice little move higher. Price projection on this could tell us that pretty much just about exactly that price projection would put us just a little bit above 13800. So that would be just a perfect little setup. So let's look for opportunities to get short, add shorts, so on and so forth between about 13800 and 138.30. I am so in love with that setup in that level, and I think it's going to be a super excellent area to add to our positions. Not to mention this rising wedge that broke out, that gets us, especially if we get up into the 138.30, that gets us into the ascending trend line that broke out of this rising wedge, which is super common to kind of bump up, hit that, and then make a big move down. So I'm looking for that bounce back to happen and that move higher to happen. And the other thing is the 1 hour chart is getting a little overextended. It's been about just about 180 bars since the last time we touched a 200 moving average. So this is a good sign that we've got a little more retracement in the works as well. So everything looks good there. And so on. And if this continues to move lower, which is Steve's question, there's in my opinion, if we don't get a little bit of a push higher, then the only next kind of reasonable thing that I could see doing would be adding at an open and a break below this 136.45 area. So this was that test of the moving average where we had that big break, big bounce. And so if it doesn't head any higher, getting short below that would be pretty good as well. So let's keep an eye on all of that. Questions, comments, let me know. Pound dollar is looking pretty interesting. I'm a little torn on a couple of things with pound dollar here. We're in at 169.20, so you can see that we're over 100 pips in profit on our 169.20 entry with pound dollar. So this thing's looking great. But there's a couple of interesting things in the works here. I'm still absolutely holding out for the pound dollar to come down and hit this 200 moving average. And I think it's going to be able to do it. And if it does, we need to be ready to add additional positions. Now, there's some retracement we can be looking for, and there's also just holding our position and adding to more on the downside. I don't know where I would add if we don't get some retracement. I want to see this pull up just a little bit, but it's not looking super amazing for additional entries right now. I know a lot of traders are buying dips and a lot are selling rallies, and there's a lot of just kind of indecision in the works. And so again, if we go back to what I'm looking at on most pairs, you can see pretty fantastic fib levels pretty nicely across the board here. And so we have a lot of consolidation and congestion at this 50% fib, which is around 168.50-60 area. So it's not even that high from current market price, another 50 or 60 pips, and this starts to get pretty interesting. If you extend this trend line out, you can see that there's definitely some overlapping interestingness going on right there. So I'm not going to put a pending order at 168.50-60 area. I'm going to watch it, and as it gets there, if things look good, if it looks like it's stalling out, we get some nice candlesticks telling us that there's a weakness in price rejection, then I'll be looking to get in that general area. If it mashes through it with some of the coming news, I won't have a pending order there, but I will have my stops at break even or +1 or +2 on my 169.20 entry, and then I'll let that take me out and look at potentially getting in short at a double top or something along those lines. So I like the pound dollar a good bit, but it needs a little bit of waiting to see if we get a little more clarity there. So this will be one of the things that we'll definitely talk about as the week goes on, and to kind of clarify some of these entries within the trade group. So let's keep an eye on that, but we're already short a little over 100 pips higher than current market price. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not doing much on the Aussie dollar except for just kind of hanging in here and seeing if something looks really interesting. We have this nice ascending channel here, our trend channel, that's been holding in pretty well. I still think we have a good opportunity for profit targets up around 95, 9,500, 9,550 zone, but it hasn't given me a good reason to get into it and to do too much there. So I'm going to keep an eye on things and see how they play out, especially as we start getting above 9,400 again. But for the moment, I'm not doing too much. If this stays above 9,300, that could also be a spot to start looking to get long again. But overall, I don't have an entry. I don't have any really great ideas on entries on the Aussie dollar. I'm just keeping an eye on it. Definitely looking at 9,300 and 9,400 to see how those two levels kind of hold out. Nothing much on dollar CAD. Just a reminder, if anyone is trading dollar CAD, I overall mostly favor dollar CAD longs, but it doesn't get too interesting to me until we can see some daily closes above, definitely above 10900, but 10915 is kind of the level we really need to get a daily close above. And so I'm watching that, I'm looking at that, I'm seeing if we can get some action up there, and until that happens, I'm probably not jumping into dollar CAD. Let's talk about Euro Aussie, though. This one is pretty interesting. Remember, we're looking, the Aussie dollar is holding on very strong and has got some pretty good strengths thus far. And we're expecting Euro weakness, absolutely. And so that makes the Euro Aussie like a super great candidate for some of these setups. So remember, Euro Aussie's been bouncing around. We had a couple of trades, and one got stopped out at break even, and so everything's looking pretty decent here, and there's plenty more profit to come. Now, one thing to remember is we have this big, huge head and shoulders pattern on this daily chart. Now, it's only just broke the neckline right here, and it's made a run as far as 400, about 475 pips below that, and that's only about halfway the distance that we expect it to ultimately go. I'm calling for the Euro Aussie to reach 14200 pretty easily. I think it's going to get there pretty easily. So 14200 is absolutely my target, but here's what we need to do on this Euro Aussie. This one has made a nice little run down, and it's given us some pretty good price rejection candles. It's having a little bit of trouble making a move lower, and you can see that 1 hour charts have just been hit. There's been some retracement on that 1 hour chart. What I'm looking to see happen here is, it seems a little far off, but I think it's very possible. I'm looking to get short and add positions for those that might already be in it to Euro Aussie up around just below 14800. So about 80 to 100 pips higher than current market price. And I think we're going to have a great opportunity for that. So right around the 147.75 to 14800 is where I'm going to be looking to add my shorts to Euro Aussie. So we've got a nice missed weekly pivot there. We've got a 50% fib level. The 200 moving average on the 4 hour chart will be overlapping right about that time. And the big ascending trend line that we broke out of all the way back here will be an overlapping area as well. So there's going to be a crazy amount of resistance just around the 14800 area, just below the 14800 area. And that's absolutely where I am going to jump up and down and get into huge positions when and if we get there. If we don't, if it doesn't retrace up to that general area there, and we don't get some nice pullback into 147, 75, 14800, then I'm just going to kind of keep an eye out for additional setups. There's nothing that I'm too crazy excited about right this moment if that doesn't happen. You could probably stretch it a little bit and say that you could get some stops above that area if it starts to turn and head lower, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to wait for 147.75 to get reached, and if that doesn't happen, then I may look for a completely different setup altogether. So that's what I'm going to be doing. That's what I'm looking for on this Euro Aussie. Just shy of 14800 is going to be an amazing spot to start shorting that one even more. So be ready for that. Pound Aussie, there was something on the Pound Aussie that was kind of interesting here. Pound Aussie's made a nice little run down. Remember, likewise, on this one, we have a huge head and shoulders pattern that broke, and that neckline is about 1200 pips or so of movement, and so that still puts us down into a profit target of around 170. We still probably have around 1,000 pips of movement on this Pound Aussie to go, and so So what I'm looking at here is a couple of things. You can see some fib levels from low to high. You can see this guy right here, which is pretty interesting. We ran up and just tapped that 50% fib from this high all the way back here, the beginning of March to the low of April. We tapped that 50% fib with a shooting star and just came plowing right back down. So on the smaller range, I'm looking at this guy right here, and you can see a little better on the 4-hour chart, this high to low range. We have some pretty decent resistance up here around 180.65 area, about 30 pips higher. If we get above that, then we could be headed into a short-term double top or something, but I don't have a pending order here just yet because we have so much UK news. But I'm going to be absolutely looking for this area to continue getting short because remember, our overall profit target on the pound Aussie is about 170. I think it's going to move 1,000 pips down from where it currently is, and that's pretty excellent. Of course, if we miss all the retracement, we miss everything exciting. I'm a huge fan of trading the breaks of tests of moving averages. And so we tested the 200 moving average and bounced off that. So if we have to get in below about 178.30 area, I'm super okay with that as well. I will short below 178.30 if we don't get enough retracement. And if we do have to wait till a break of 178.30, that could be all the way towards the end of the week or something along those lines. So keeping an eye on that. But I do like 181 180.50, 18100 kind of zone to start looking for more. Looking for more shorts on pound Aussie. So we'll just see how it goes. Just to clarify, euro dollar is a pending order kind of a trade. Remember, if we get into that into this kind of area up here, pending order, this is something we want to get into. Pound dollar, we've got to be a little more careful. We have a lot of news there. Euro Aussie is a pending order kind of a situation. 147.75 pending order all day long. But some of these other ones we need to kind of see how they play out, particularly pound pairs, pound dollar and pound Aussie. We want to kind of let those give us a little bit of price action. See how the news comes out for the UK. Kind of be patient on those. I think that'll be a really good thing to do. We have two CAD Swiss franc trades that are sitting in a whole just good amount of profit. We got in at 80.20 and 80.40, and you can see that we're at 82.06 currently. So we have one position that's almost 200 pips in profit and one that's creeping up on 200 pips of profit. And so those are looking awesome and fantastic. Here's the thing we have to be careful with on CAD Swiss franc, and I want to say a couple things about some of these Swiss franc setups because I think they're getting pretty interesting. 1 hour chart, a little bit on the overextended side. So we're 180 bars on the 1 hour chart. Now remember, our overall profit targets are 8,300 and 8,350 on this CAD Swiss franc, and it's just getting right up into there. And so there's some pretty excellent profits there, number one. Number two, I'd like to see a little bit of fib action. You can see that this recent run up right here, our 50% fib or even our 38% fib puts us about 81.50, and I think that could be an interesting area to start looking to add long positions to the CAD Swiss franc, and that would put us down at the 200 moving average, kind of fill this gap, give us an opportunity to add to those positions and take out this weekly pivot. So 81.50 is looking interesting to add additional positions to our already hugely in profit multiple positions on this pair. So 81.50 getting long CAD Swiss franc I love, still with a profit target of about 83.50. So there's still probably a fairly workable, semi-easy 200 pips of profit from that 81.50 area. So loving that one. Just a quick note on Aussie New Zealand. We want to see the Aussie New Zealand run into this 200 moving average up here, but it's pulling back just a little bit, and so we're still looking for any opportunities to get long as close to 106.50 as possible. So I don't have any orders on this. I'm just watching that 106.50. If we get down there, I'm excited about getting in. Quick little look at dollar Swiss franc. This is what I want to say about dollar Swiss franc real quick. I love this setup, and I love getting long dollar Swiss franc, but it's got to pull back, and I think it's going to have to pull back a bit along with the euro dollar. Big bounce off this double bottom. It's getting at some pretty historically decently low levels. on this pair. We're down into, if we zoom it out even a little bit more, you can see that we had a spike down there, a wild spike, and this was back in, I think our low there was hit back in 2011. But overall, we're definitely in the lower region of dollar Swiss franc levels, and so what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for a little bit of fib retracement. From this low to high, we had that nice little bounce, spiked up about 250 pips or so, and I want to get in right in the middle, basically right in the middle of the 38 and 50% fib. I won't get in any sooner than 38% fib, which is about 88.60, and the 50 would be great, about 88.30. So between that 88.30 and 88.60 area, I think that's going to be a great spot to get in. We might even see a spike down into that weekly pivot from last week, which is at about 88.15. So could be a little dip there, but anywhere between about 88.30 and 88.50, 60 area is going to be a good in my mind to get in to dollar Swiss franc long and trading it to the upside there. So loving that a good bit. Quick little note on Euro CAD. Same thing. Euro CAD is definitely getting a little bit on the overextended side here. So we saw Euro CAD reach that zone right there. It's 180 bars since the last touch on the 1 hour chart, and I think that we have got a nice little push here for this to run up and just make that nice little retracement. Now what I'm looking for on the Euro CAD is we could very likely see a move into this 150.50 area still. I think it's totally possible. And so I would be looking for that to happen. You can see as far, once again, as we go back to kind of our fib levels here, that 150.50 is just right at the 50% fib. So there's just tons of retracement setups that are looking pretty excellent here. So I'm waiting to see if we get some of that. And we'll just kind of watch and wait for some retracement. If we do not get any retracement on Euro CAD, I would not hesitate to just simply trade the break of this trend line right here. But I'm not super excited about that, mainly because of the extended 200 moving average, and that 200 moving average is all the way up at about 149.70. So I think we might need to test that before making its run down. So it's a little oversold on the 1 hour chart, but the daily chart has a fantastic head and shoulders pattern. We're below the neckline. We're also below, we've seen some nice opens below this pretty heavy support level, which was 149.00, and it's just kind of bouncing around there, but it's open and closed a couple of times below that, and I think we have a fairly easy target into at least 147.50, but overall I'm looking for bigger levels like 145.00 and 143.75. So especially if we see this 150.50, we're absolutely, without a doubt, no questions asked, getting short there, and we're holding on to it for at least 500 pips. I'm holding off on pound CAD again because of a lot of the news, and I'm not doing too much on New Zealand dollar, and I'm just holding off on the yen pairs a little bit as well. So we're going to keep an eye on some of these guys, but really all the most exciting setups I think right now are Euro dollar, Euro Aussie. CAD Swiss franc is going to be a good one. Dollar Swiss franc is going to be a good one, and Euro CAD is going to be really good. And some of the other ones we just kind of need to wait and let the week kind of work itself out, and we'll have some pretty excellent entries coming up there as well. So I'm pretty excited about that. Of course, there's lots more updates and more of everything coming, but that's kind of what I'm looking for the week. So I'm going to get this recording posted. I would love to hear your guys' questions and comments and pairs that you are looking at that I didn't mention. So hit me up. Let's get this recording posted, and I will take all your questions and comments right now.